everybody, and welcome back to my opera channel. If there was ever a week for my tea, park walking, and theater obsession to ever fit the opera, this is the week. This week, together with Waterperry Opera Festival, I have an opera synopsis for you. Mansfield Park, based on the book by, I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, my favorite author, Jane Austen. But before I get into the synopsis, a little bit about Waterperry Opera. Waterperry Opera Festival is launching its first season this August at the Waterperry Gardens. Now, fun fact, Waterperry Gardens claims to have the best tea store in all of England. I will definitely be checking that out, but so should you, so grab your tickets, grab some tea, and come see great opera. They have a little bit of everything and something for everyone. So, on with the opera, Mansfield Park. You have probably heard of the movie or the BBC miniseries or the BBC radio series, but in 2012, Heritage Opera got together with Britain's most prominent living composer, Jonathan Dove, and wrote the opera version, libretto by Alistair Middleton. And why not? It works so well. Everything about it. It's scandalous, it's funny, it has some interesting relationships, let's leave it at that. Unlike my other synopsises, instead of giving you a play-by-play, I'm just gonna break down the story because so much happens and I don't want you to miss out on anything. Let's just say not everything's so proper. First things first, who's who and family tree. Sir Thomas Bertram is married to Lady Bertram. The only thing Lady Bertram cares about is her pug. They have 4 kids. Junior, not the nicest guy, going to inherit everything, not in the opera. Edmund, nice, sweet, kind, very warm, is planning to join the church. Mariah, I've heard many variations on how to pronounce her name. And finally, Julia, very bratty. Lady Bertram has 2 sisters, Mrs. Price, who married for love, meaning she is very, very poor and had a lot of baby making time. And now has 10 children. Her eldest daughter, Fanny, quiet, shy girl, will be sent to live from now on with her uncle and aunt, the Bertrams. That way they can lighten the load. And her eldest brother is part of the story, William, but he isn't part of the opera. Mrs. Norris, who lives right next door to her sister, is married to Mr. Norris. They don't have any kids and loves to get involved in other people's business and matchmaking. She is the one who suggested that Fanny come live with them. So that's the family. Now, visitors. Mr. Rushworth, a buffoon with $20,000 a year. A lot of money back then. Mary and Henry Crawford, brother and sister, let's call them the enlightened pair. You might recognize them from your own life as the kids that introduced Spin the Bottle to the class or 7 Minutes in Heaven, Truth or Dare. You get where I'm going with this. Everyone had those kids. So now let's talk opera. Act 1, Volume 1, Chapters 1 to 11. So at the age of 10, Fanny gets sent to live with her uncle and aunt, the Bertrams, just like the Prince of Bel-Air. Now, she comes not nearly educated enough, and her young cousins make fun of her for not knowing basic history or geography, like being able to name all 5 great rivers in Russia, or all the names of the kings of England in chronological order with everything that happened during their reign that was important. Idiot. For sure. Though through all these difficult times, the only person who was ever really nice to her was her cousin Edmund. Since then, she has become a companion to Mrs. Norris and Lady Bertram. But that was many years ago. Now she has learned all that stuff and is a much better human for knowing all of that. Now, Mariah, we're gonna go with Mariah because that's what we're gonna go with, has been proposed to by Mr. Rushworth. He isn't very smart, he gets chased around by cows, he's very naive, he's very strange, but he has so much to offer in the bank. And Aunt Norris arranged the whole thing, so we really have to be thankful for her for this. Plot twist. Mary and Henry Crawford come to visit Mansfield Park. Now, Henry is sure that Julia is the one that he's going to marry. He is very tempted by her, but is extremely tempted by the thought of Mariah. Hey, Henry, pick one. Mary Crawford, who is also in need of being entertained, is interested in Edmund. He is also the only man around, really, that isn't attached to someone else, so it seems. And Edmund seems to enjoy her company as well. And we very soon discover that Fanny is being third wheeled through this whole thing. But she is in love with Edmund. Ew, gross, because in the words of Karen Smith, there's first cousins and then there's second cousins. And they're first cousins, so that's a relation that you don't cross. Although any cousin relation is gross. It's just gross. Anyway, as you can see, it's all quite Love Island-y and everyone's coupling up and stuff. So now that we have our couples, Fanny is left to take care of her very demanding aunts. And our couples are Mr. Rushworth and Maria Bertram, Edmund Bertram and Mary Crawford, Henry Crawford and Julia Bertram? That's who he's interested in now? Okay, so Henry has gotten tired of the very easy to please Julia Bertram and has decided to try his luck with Maria Bertram, because that won't cause any problems at all. Sadly, he is pretty successful with Maria, and Mr. Rushworth does not pick up on this at all, but Fanny sees it all, and Julia is kicked to the side. Mary and Edmund still seem quite happy with each other, and Fanny is still third-wheeling it. Now, by the end of Act 1, we are getting closer to Mr. Rushworth and Maria's wedding, and Maria is approached by her father, who's just confirming that this is what she wants. She says yes, because I mean, $12,000 a year. And you really don't want to piss off Aunt Norris now, do you? So they get married, and Henry Crawford realizes where his efforts should have been this entire time. No one other than the reasonably good-looking, head on shoulders, perfectly reasonable person in general, Fanny Price. I will make Fanny Price fall in love with me. End of Act 1. Wow, I haven't had an act in so long. This is so exciting. Act 2. Volume 2, chapters 1 to 7. We start off with Fanny having a coming out ball, and Henry Crawford has recruited his sister to help with the efforts of making Fanny fall in love with him. He very soon proposes to her, and she says no, because she has seen everything. Her uncle Sir Thomas is furious and says that she will never ever find a better match than Henry Crawford. Aunt Norris is having a fit because Julia is obviously the one that should have been proposed to by Henry Crawford, not the cuckoo nest Fanny over there. And Edmund can't figure out either why she would refuse such an offer. Really, Edmund? Really? You can't figure it out why she doesn't wanna? Alright. Okay. Anyway, Julia begins to correspond with this man named Mr. Yates, and Henry Crawford decides to correspond again with Maria Bertram, now Mrs. Rushworth. Let's just say that their correspondence isn't about good housekeeping and how married life is. It gets so steamy with these back and forth letters that Julia runs off to marry Mr. Yates, and Maria and Henry decide to roll around in the sheets together. Maria and Henry make it into the newspaper, and everyone is horrified, and for some reason they are all blaming Fanny Price. Because if Fanny had married Mr. Crawford, he wouldn't have felt the need to communicate with someone that he was never interested in from the beginning. They were flirting like non-stop with each other way before she was married. And he's a scoundrel. And Maria would still be married, and really, it's all Fanny's fault. So, don't really get how Julia running off of Mr. Yates is Fanny's fault, but Aunt Norris will figure out any way to blame Fanny for anything. Now, Maria feels that Fanny has screwed up everything as well, and says that the only way to fix all of this is for Maria to marry Henry Crawford, her brother, because that's the only way to save his reputation. Poor Fanny, she actually did nothing wrong here. She really doesn't deserve any of this. Edmund hears this and realizes that Mary isn't the one for him, because she is a mischievous one as well. But he feels like he must get married as soon as possible, and who is he going to marry? And notices something that he hadn't noticed before, that there's someone right there the whole time. Don't, it's really okay. You don't have to do this. Yep. His true love and perfect companion is no one other than Fanny Price. The end! Yay, no one dies! Just a question, are there no other young singles in the area? Has no one ever heard of the term, there are other fish in the sea? Anyway, that's all folks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Please go check out all of Waterperry's links. They are down below, so are my links. I hope to see you there. I will be back next week with a new video, and until then, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't forget to hit that subscription button and the little bell next to it so you can get notified whenever I make a new video. Anyway, I will see you all next week in my new video, and until then, have a great week, and don't forget to go see an opera, and when you do, share with me what you went to see. You know, send me a pic. Diva Studies.